Got Your Ears On is brought to you by Tactical Legion 9.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Ears On. Guido here along with Scoop.
Here's Johnson.
And Johnson.
Gentlemen, back from Unhappy Valley, as it were, I guess.
Let me ask you guys, we'll start it off right off the top here. Were either any of you surprised? Was there anything surprising about the game?
Yeah. I mean, I have one mildly surprising thing. Yes.
I have no surprising things. Like I could have. That is exactly what I figured would happen. Is what happened. Scooty, were you surprised by anything?
I felt like I would see more of the crowd thumping in unison to something. I think that's what I was surprised. I didn't see more of that.
There's no crowd thumping.
Yes.
Thumping in unison.
Yes.
Is what you felt was lacking.
Thump, yeah.
Did you happen to see by chance the this has nothing to do with WVU, the Auburn opening that they did?
No, did not.
This past week. Oh man, if you get a chance, Google that Auburn. I think it was Auburn opening chant, like where the fans were chanting to the Queen into the Seven Nation Army or whatever that song. Like it was crazy. It was pretty cool. Anyway, Johnson, I want to hear what your surprising thing was. I want to hear what shocked you about the game.
Yeah, well, not shocking, I guess, but I do agree with you guys both. I mean, I think we did watch largely what we thought we were going to watch. I don't disagree, Guido, but there was one thing that I thought I was surprised, and that was, we talk a lot about our offensive line. Guido, you're a big Zach Frazier fan. We talk about them to the point where I think we take it for granted as we think that's a strong suit, running the ball. Right. But I was genuinely like, oh, okay, they're winning this line of scrimmage here a bit. They're shoving these Penn State guys around a little bit on these running plays. Now, pass blocking, ask me about that later. But on running plays, I was pleasantly surprised. I think it's hard to figure out what you learn from a game like this because I think we were punching above our weight class so much, trying to make this work Saturday. But I was pleasantly surprised that they were lining up and getting a lot of positive yards. And I think anytime they wanted to do that rugby scrum, they were successful. Now, I know you got people pushing Garrett Green from behind, but they're still getting a lot of leverage up front. I thought I was happy about that. I liked that. I think that's something that I hope comes in handy in the next 11 games. I think that was something I was pleasantly surprised about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think between his play and the amount of screen time he got during the game,
he did get a lot of screen time, didn't he?
Zach Frazier's screen time was very high. I think, nationally televised game, pretty big. His draft stock had to rise a little bit. He looked good, like good play, so good on him. But yeah, I think the line looked good. I mean, other than that, I hate to say this, guys, but it was pretty
pretty standard fare,
on a
wasn't
sandwich.
It? Yeah, pretty well vanilla. Like that offense, I don't know that you can get more basic, can you?
It's not even vanilla, fellas. It's tofu.
It's tofu.
What would be like sugar-free? Like what would be the?
It is tofu. It's
like the Coke. It's like the Coke Zero of offensive play calling, isn't it? It's like no, Coke Zero actually
there's
is
some
okay.
flavor there. No, it is.
I like Scooty comparing it to coagulated soy milk. Like that's what tofu is. Like it's just
all right.
There's nothing there. Like it's and to be honest with you, if I'm being it's embarrassing to watch screenplay after screenplay. I think we threw the ball maybe 3 or 4 times farther than 5 yards. It feels like.
And that Scoot felt like that was really only in junk time.
Yeah,
right? I mean, that was really games decided.
It was something like we had 120 something yards passing until the end of the fourth quarter, and then that last series we threw a little bit. But
everything is played right at the line of scrimmage,
and it looks kind of like I don't want to say goofy, but like it just feels like amateur hour when it comes to
Can I interject something right there? Because I was thinking about this yesterday. Guido, nothing looks. So you were like, I think we saw what we expected to see. When I say that, I specifically think of. I expect like nothing looks very well architected. Like nothing looks pretty well buttoned up on the offensive side. So let me give you an example on both sides. On the offensive side, nothing looks particularly schemed or anything, but there's enough general athleticism. Like there's enough. Garrett Green runs fast. CJ Donaldson is a good running back. The line is strong, that they just sort of make it serviceable and find some first downs. On the defensive side of the ball, nothing looks buttoned up, but there's enough general, like Lee Kopka is a man. Jonathan Martin and the guys up front were kind of getting pressure.
Sean.
I liked that too. Like there's enough general athleticism over there too, that they just sort of, in spite of that, make it work. But compare that to like, we were texting, so I know you guys were watching it too. I was watching a bit of the Florida State LSU game last night, and Florida State, I don't know who calls plays for, I don't know them enough to know who is their offensive coordinator, but you don't see anything like where you're watching that game and the ball is snapped and then you watch a play develop and you're like, wow, that was clever. And you saw it happening, like and they would gash LSU for maybe 10 yards or something. And you saw it happen. Like when you watch us against Penn State, and I know people are like Penn State is suddenly the best football team ever. If you read Twitter, they're just the best thing ever. Like, I think they're good, but nothing on our side of the ball looked very well, like schemed or planned, or, I just don't get, it's sort of like, I don't know, let's try this. And hopefully something happens.
Don't know a lot as far as offensive plays go, but like when you move those three guys, I forget which three they were, but we had they start on the left side and then they all, like the triples, all move over to the right side, and you see that play happen. And then
what's coming.
You do it again, maybe not the play right after that, but 2 plays after that, and it's the exact same thing. Like at what point?
And like you can see it coming a mile away.
Yeah, like at what point, if you're a defensive coordinator from the other team, you're like, they're going to try this again.
Yeah.
All right,
like,
go ahead.
Okay.
It didn't work well the first time. Let's try it again.
I was thinking the same thing, Scooty. Like my son plays flag football, right? And they have like 4 plays. Like that's it. Because they're 10-year-olds and they can't remember yesterday, let alone, plays. And so they have like 4 or 8 plays that they run. And that's what West Virginia felt like. It felt like we saw the same play over and over again, swap sides, whatever it might be. But let's talk about one other thing, Johnson. Let's talk about the fact that Neil Brown had his thumb on the trick play button like a little too much in this game.
Well, kind of weird, wasn't it? Like I don't want to criticize going for it on 4th down. I actually liked that. I mean, what the heck, and there were a couple 4th downs where I think everyone watching was like, yeah, you got to go for it here. But I'm not sure you had to do the things that we ended up doing. We did some really odd, like, you need 2 yards. You have this freight train in the backfield and some pretty competent blockers. Let's run a flea flicker type thing for a loss. What? I don't know. Things looked so odd on those attempts. It just looked so bungled.
Shouldn't your 4th down plays, your 4th and 1, your 4th and 2, shouldn't those be things that are like when, your basketball coach draws up almost a guaranteed out of bounds basket play, right? You've got to come up with your, hey, I know we're going to get our 2 yards off of this thing because it hits 9 out of 10 times. We're going to get something.
Yeah,
it's probably
and let's
not when you want to be like,
and
let's run the starting quarterback from the backfield over to the slot, and then let's run our backup quarterback who hasn't really done anything yet in this game. He's going to start in the shotgun, so he's already 5 yards deeper, and then run him to the left and hope good things happen.
Well, didn't you feel bad for I felt bad for Nico, because it's like, hey, world, meet Nico Martial, and this is the way you meet him. Like getting his face planted in the ground on some weird.
Let's have your 5'6", 170-pound starting quarterback block for him as you know, come on.
It was
what are we
weird.
doing?
Well, Jake Lance over at Smoking Musket broke it down a little bit, and I think he made some good points. Like, it wasn't a horrible idea, but it was just, I don't know, it wasn't executed very well. But even so,
direction and stuff, right?
Yeah, and so that's a good read if you haven't checked that out. But I think it was a weird choice in both occasions where you really you didn't need a tremendous amount of yards. It was a weird thing to do. It was a weird thing to watch.
Well, that 2-point conversion was stupid. The ring around the rosy. It worked. Yeah, it worked.
It worked.
Well, we were
down.
texting though. I think when the defending Super Bowl champions do the ring around the rosy because they make playing at the highest level of football look fun and easy, and they do it, you kind of watch it and you're like, oh, that's they're having fun. When you have fumbled the bag in front of 107,000 enemy fans all game, and then you pull that out, I was like, oh boy, this is if I'm a player in that ring around the rose, you think they're looking at each other I can't believe he's asking us to do this right now.
I'm not doing it. Come on.
That would feel so weird. It worked, but I mean, it worked. That had to feel yeah.
I mean, we were texting each other during that moment, and we were all kind of ugh.
What were we down at that point? We were down 20, 21?
Well, that made it 31-15, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So what are you it's just
and
so
look, all things considered, Guido, if we step back a minute, we're always going to pick at stuff because we watch the game play by play and then we get on here and talk about it. We're always going to pick it apart. But I think stepping back a minute, when we were sitting there at 14-7 at the half, anyone would have taken that, and 31-15 toward the end of the game. I don't want to get fly off the handle and criticize everything. I think what I was disappointed in, overall fine. We, like you said at the top, we felt like that's where this game was going to go and that's where it went. I think I was just a little disappointed because, to be honest, it was kind of there for a while.
It felt like
the opportunity was there to do some stuff, and it just felt like, to your point about the blandness of the offense and stuff, it just felt like, you didn't think you were going to be here, but there's actually an opportunity here. It would be cool to see you be clever or creative or, try to take advantage of it. It was there, I think, for a bit.
Well, and so let's just talk about a few individual performances, I guess. And I want to start at the quarterback position, start with Garrett Green. And Scoot, you've been praising and talking about how Garrett needs to be the starter. I called it. I said that, he was going to be. I know that there was all that, talk last week in the media and Neil Brown not naming a name. And I don't know who he was trying to trick, I guess. But I mean, there were parts of Green's game that I thought looked good. He's definitely mobile. He definitely can move around. I mean, he had 15 rushing attempts. He had 71 yards, which I think we would take from a quarterback if they could complete, more than 160 yards passing. I think that's where it kind of falls off for me. And I don't know the problems with the passing game. I don't know if that's Garrett, if that's play calling, if that's you're only doing 2-yard bubble screens, you're not getting the opportunity to throw. I mean, he completed 16 passes but only for 162 yards. So his longest was that, what was it, 37 yard pass to Devin Carter, but other than that, everything else was
and that was the floater.
Yeah,
that was like a pop. That was like fielding a pop fly, sort of.
Yeah, right. So it's I don't know what to think, and this week at Duquesne's not going to show you anything else. I like the fact that he's mobile. I like the fact that he can get out and run around. I don't know what else there. I mean, there was nothing exciting about it. Is that fair to say, Scoot?
No, there is definitely nothing exciting. I am probably Neil Brown's biggest critic, at least on this podcast and maybe in life. I'm not really sure, but
maybe.
I mean,
there's I'm just so depressed. It's a depressing feeling. I don't feel like there's a lot of offensive edge. I was just thinking a little while ago, I miss the Dana Holgerson towel cobras where you needed to hey, we don't want anyone to see what we're calling. Because with Neil Brown, it doesn't really matter if you know what we're calling because you know what we're calling. Like, you don't need a towel cobra. You just call a screen, or it's we're going to maybe call a pass play, but it's really not going to be a pass. I guess you would call that an RPO, but it's not RPO. It's
Tell me what you thought about. I had this weird feeling, and I don't think I texted you guys about it, but I think it was in the post game. Neil Brown really defended Garrett Green, and I had this moment of melancholy, like, oh no. Like, it felt weird. Like, I felt like if he's getting endorsed by Neil Brown,
It brings down his stock. His stock just drops.
yeah,
Like, now I don't like the
I
guy.
had the, we've had a running joke of like, it doesn't really matter what Garrett does. We'll see him do something really inventive and like really athletic, and then Neil will say something like, I didn't like the way he read the safety, or so, some benign like what. And in this Penn State post game, he was saying stuff like, no, the guy can throw. If you're saying the guy can't throw, then, that's just crazy. And he's really defending him. And I had this moment, Guido, of like, this is weird. This feels weird. And I don't know if I like it or not. Like, I don't know what to make of all that.
Well, and I mean, he was 16 for 27. So, like, I think in normal circumstances, when you look at that completion percentage, you're like, okay, I'll take that. I mean, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah,
I mean,
no
Drew Lohr
fumbles,
was
no interceptions. I mean, it's hard to
like.
I really do like Garrett Green, and I've wanted him to be successful for 3 years now. I feel bad for him in the sense that he's never really gotten a true opportunity to be successful, and now it feels like he's getting an opportunity to be successful only because Neil Brown's like, well, I guess I don't have any other choice now, but I've got to play this guy because he's just been sitting here for a while, and I just feel like he feels, I don't know, compelled to play him.
It does kind of make you feel that way. Yeah. Yeah, it does kind of make you feel that way.
So I like Donaldson. I don't know that he's a great running back. It'd be nice if he was Thunder and we had a Lightning, right? So I don't know that we have a Lightning, because I think you need a guy that kind of offsets that type of running style.
Well, don't you think, Guido, back to your question, though, I think, like, I'm not upset with Garrett Green. I think I'm just continuing to feel like I don't think he's all that set up for success, really. You were saying, like, is it play calling? Is it this? I don't think, back to what we were saying, everything feels so basic that I don't think there's nothing to stretch the field. Everyone plays at the line of scrimmage. So I'll tell you, maybe a better way to say it is, I find myself wondering, like Scoot said it a second ago, I think we should run an RPO, and I think we do run an RPO, but there are moments of the game where I'm like, was that like, it doesn't look like it feels correct, or like, I think it's an RPO, but it, like, you would think that you can still be creative, like, let's say you don't expect Garrett Green to throw for 300 yards. You have all this talent around your run blocking and CJ Donaldson. I think they even have some other running backs that I think are, we saw them in spots Saturday that were good. And I think Green can obviously run. It feels like you can still be creative. And I find myself, even last year, the tail end of last year, and then in this Penn State game, and I know Penn State's formidable, but you still feel like he's just turning and handing the ball, and there's no, like, he can run. He feels like you could still be creative with it.
Let me ask this question, and this is maybe I'm way off on how I feel, like my perception of things. I feel like we're being coached, our team has been put together as if we are still Troy. Like, we're that mid-major program, we're a Conference USA team, and those teams are going to have some success against. You're going to win a game or two here that you don't usually think you're going to win. But by and large, our results have been, it's as if he's still at Troy. And when we do get a win against a good team, it's kind of like, whoa, that's unusual. You don't expect that. But then we can't replicate it week after week. It's like you just kind of fall off again the next week. You games that you think you're gonna win, you're probably not gonna win. It feels as though we're not being coached to the level that we need to be coached to, and we may not have the personnel at the and it's not stars, right? Stars only mean things when you're in high school. We don't have that explosive skill. Now, I think the offensive line did well. They should do well. They probably have a combined age of 120 or something, because they're all
they're all seniors,
right? So I mean, they should do well, but if we didn't have that, if you have just or God forbid, one or two of those guys gets injured, you're looking at a way different situation, just because we don't have the experience. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'll give you an example of one of the things that I was a little, I don't know, I won't say surprised, I was just confused by, which is like, we knew for the wide receivers, we knew that Devin Carter was probably going to be the number one receiver. He was the big, pull that we got. He was the big transfer portal we got. But you look at a guy like Justin Johnson Jr., right, who took a lot of snaps last year, who had 98 balls were thrown to him last year. He's been in the program now for he saw nothing. He saw zero. The ball didn't come anywhere near him. So it's just like I'm with Scooty on the fact that I can't be critical of Garrett Green, because I don't think Garrett Green is being put into positions where he could be. I don't think he was unsuccessful, but I don't think he's put into positions where he can be successful. I don't think he's being given the opportunity to throw those 20-yard post routes or those, and those 30-yard, corner throw. He's not getting that opportunity. And I think I kind of disagree with you, Scooty. I think the personnel might be there. I think we're fair. I know that we had 10 different guys lined up in wide receiver positions. I think we have some decent wide receivers, some names we don't know, some names we might know. I mean, every time Preston Fox makes a catch, it seems like it's an exciting catch. He always and I don't know if that's just him but I mean, I feel like he always makes exciting catches, but he only gets one attempt a game, so I don't know.
Well, you said Preston Fox, right?
Right.
And then somebody tweeted this earlier, and we had kind of passed it around in our text thread. He's a walk-on, a former walk-on, yet we've got Neil Brown's probably one of his highest ever recruits, and you're in a season where it's kind of make it or break it for Neil Brown, right? I don't know how many other publications need to say that he's on the hottest seat in the Big 12, but he's on a hot seat. Whether it's a hot seat where something actually happens or if it's just a perpetual hot seat, I don't know. But he's on this hot seat. Hey, man, you're playing for your career. You're coaching for your career, not playing. I guess.
You're talking about not seeing Rodney Gallagher.
Why is that guy not on the field? He's, by all accounts, a potential generational talent for college football. He can play both sides of the ball. He's an athlete. We don't know what he really is position-wise.
Well, it just seems, Guido, like some things just never change. I think that's another thing watching the Penn State game. I know the competition is formidable, but there are certain things that are just a theme year after year. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the defensive secondary.
Do we have to?
I mean, it was just, I feel like, Todd Blackledge and people on the call for that game were really all over the Penn State quarterback, singing his praises. But for me sitting there watching the game, I thought we let him off. We gave him a pretty soft, welcome to the starting position at Penn State type of a game, because he didn't have to do a whole lot. The defensive secondary looks so out of place and so just, I don't know, every reception, it felt like people were not even in the area code. There was one score, I think, I don't know who it was, tweeted out after the score to make it 31. I think the closest defender was an edge rusher. You know what I mean? There were times of the game where you were like, I don't even know where the secondary is. And so that's, to me, frustrating when I know that we're all in unison saying, well, look, the schedule gets easier. Well, to me, the offenses get more creative in the Big 12. The people that sling the ball around are teams we're going to play later on. It doesn't make me feel very good to watch that against Penn State, who I think is probably a bit more even conservative. They're going to probably try to pound you more than Big 12 offenses are. It makes me cringe a little bit to think of how that's going to fare in conference. It feels, I don't know. It doesn't feel good.
It does feel ugh. Is that's a good way of putting it, because I don't, and I agree with you, Johnson. Like you would think a Big Ten offense is going to be a little bit more 3 yards in a cloud of dust than what we're going to see when we travel to Texas Tech or we play, Oklahoma. So that I definitely worry a little bit about that. There needs to be, some improvement, Scooty, on the defense.
And that's why I brought up, I thought the defensive front did a good job getting pressure on him. I think he would have had even more success had they not been able to get to him. I was thankful they were at least able to rush him at points of the game. But yeah, to me, that was a glaring thing. Scoot, I have to steal your, what did you say? It's the don't cover anyone Brown defense.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like once again this season.
Can we talk about one thing though that really upset the apple cart with this game throughout the nation?
Yeah.
Can we talk about the one thing that Penn State scoring that junk touchdown
with 6
minutes?
6 seconds.
Their backup quarterback too, right?
Yeah.
It was, what's his name? Parabola. I can't even remember what his name was. Anyways,
Isn't a parabola like a math equation?
Yes, it is. Pribula, I think was his name.
Anyways,
Parabola.
That put Penn State on to cover on that game. So
20 and a half
West
points,
Virginia,
and that helped them cover. Yeah, with 6 seconds left. I saw a lot of people complaining. I'm going to be honest, in the moment, I knew of that because we had talked about it, but I don't know. It didn't feel, I didn't really have a big reaction to it. I already don't like Penn State. So it was like, yeah, that feels like them. But the game was in hand. I don't know. I didn't really have a big reaction.
I'm just saying all the gamblers were pretty upset.
I didn't get too upset. Is it kind of, it doesn't feel good, right? It's not a good feeling, like as far as gamesmanship.
Douchey, but
right.
James Franklin is a douche. It feels very on brand for them. Guido SVP called it out in his bad beats because it was so toward the end of the game.
It's not great, but is there, and you guys know this in polling and in the polls, is there some credence to how big a point spread between the wins and losses are, right? So if you're 7th in the country and you only beat WVU by 14
let's make
points
this look
or whatever,
a little better.
you want to right.
No, I'm not saying the kid had money on the game. I'm just saying that it was pretty rough.
Yeah, it was convenient, wasn't it, to score that?
All in all, guys, I think that, the 38-15 final score is about where I expected it to be.
That's what we thought, right? We felt like that line was accurate, and that's pretty much what happened.
And you got to keep in mind, they missed 2 field goals, so probably could have been bigger than that.
Yes.
Right. That is true. So WVU now travels back to Morgantown, gets to play next weekend against FCS game against Duquesne. So with it being a FCS game, there are no odds. There's no spread, right? You can't bet. They don't put betting lines out for those. What's WVU have to do to make this game not an embarrassment? Scooty.
Wow. What do they have to do? They definitely have to win.
Well, but I don't. Is that in question? There's no question that they're definitely going to win this game.
No, it shouldn't be in question. But like I said, I feel that while yes, we are a Power 5 team, I don't know that we necessarily operate like a Power 5 team, if I'm being completely honest. Look at our record here in the last, we're 5 and it feels like we're 5 and whatever for the last 5 years. So it's going to be, it may be closer than we'd like it to be. We should win. I mean, if we don't win, I don't know.
You saw Oregon win what 81-3 against an FCS team. Right. You saw
you're not going to see that. You're not
going to see that.
You're not going to see 81 to no.
You think you'll see 3 touchdowns? Will they win by 3 touchdowns?
I think that's possible. I could
4
see
4 touchdowns?
No, I don't know about that.
So 4 touchdowns is like your iffy line. The over under for you is 3.5 touchdowns.
Like I could see something like a 50-25 or a 50-21.
No, 25.
Like, you think they're
they're not?
I mean, that's a
weird.
weird. I know it's a weird number. I'm just saying
on.
like a 25. I could see maybe 21 to 30 point difference.
No, I can see like a 42-10, something like that. But what?
Listen, have you seen our defense?
Duquesne beat Guido
Edinburgh.
Division II Edinburgh. I'm assuming they didn't make the trip from Scotland.
What is Edinburgh, Scooty? Do you know?
They're the Fighting Scotty.
The Fighting
Dogs.
Scots.
Are they really?
Yes, the Fighting Scotty.
That's kind of
Scotty.
awesome.
D2 school just north of Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Just north of Pittsburgh, right?
Well, I think a game like this, I'm with Scoot because I think after halftime, WVU will I think Nico gets a lot of play. I think we see a lot of people on the field that maybe wouldn't normally be out there. So I think a 3 touchdown gap is probably where I'd put it as well, honestly.
So Scooty, really what we need to be concerned about is the running back for Duquesne, 104 yards in the last game. He goes by the name Taj, Taj, Taj Butts is his name.
Taj Butts.
And Taj Butts, 9 carries for 104 yards, averaging 11 yards a carry.
Let's talk about, tell me, do you know anything about their passing game, Guido?
So they had 3 quarterbacks play against the Fighting Scots. Darius Paredes, maybe, seems to be their starter. He was 7 for 13 for 135 yards. So in 7 passes, he threw almost as much as Garrett Green did with 2 touchdowns. Then they have a guy named Matthew Robinson, and then they had another guy, Jordan Heisley, played a little. So, I mean, again, I don't think you're going to see anything spectacular. I think letting them score 20 points, 21 plus points, 3 touchdowns is a little scary. Even if you're talking about our, whatever, the guys that aren't on scholarship, the walk-ons playing in the fourth quarter. I don't know, man.
I mean, that secondary that we trotted out there does not give me any kind of confidence whatsoever.
Well, I think, Guido, it's hard though, isn't it, to, I kind of hate these games because you don't really learn. I don't really think I learned a whole lot from watching us play Penn State other than Penn State's on a different level, and I already knew that. And now we're going to watch us play Duquesne. I don't know that you really learned anything pushing Duquesne around. I think I'm waiting on this Pitt game. That's really what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on this Pitt game. I think this is going to be, Scoot, I think what you will be delighted to, what you'll be treated to in this Duquesne game is beating Duquesne in the most boring way possible. All the stuff you just talked about the tofu or whatever that's right. It's going to be the tofu attack against Duquesne. You're going to win and you're going to maybe pile some points up, but it's going to be the most boring.
Would you call it the I don't know. Let me think of something.
I could see the wheels turning. All I could come up with was tofu attack. The
tofu attack.
Soy raid. You want to call it the soy raid? Maybe.
Oh, soy. I don't. So let me ask you this question: do you think it's a situation? This is preposterous. I think in a vacuum, it would be ridiculous to think it this way. But do you think it's a situation where we could come out and really do well against Duquesne and then take that false sense of that first game was just
definitely.
kind of anomaly?
You already know the answer to this, Scoot.
We're going to play Pitt and we're going to have this false sense of bravado.
Right. Yes. You already know the answer before you ask, because we did that. That's a LIU game all over again, right? Right. Because the people, I can't tell you how frustrated I got reading tweets, Guido, that were essentially like, I'm really proud of us because we didn't turn the...
We hung in there, guys.
We gave them a game and hung in there and handled the environment. Like talking like we're some Mac program or something.
Pitt at home, so we're going to just stomp
take
all over
that and then lump on this good performance we're bound to have against Duquesne, and all those people will be like, man, we're 8-9 wins and we're on it here at Pitt. Big win. That's what you're going to see. That's what you're asking, Scoot, and I'm saying yes, affirmative. That's what's going to happen.
It's not like so let's say we're 1-2. What happens? Anything?
No.
I mean, I'm actually, I know we talked about it last week. I'm now, after thinking about it more and more, I'm 100% in Neil Brown as the coach for the season camp. Like, there's no firing Neil Brown after game 4.
No.
He could be 1-9, and he's not getting fired until the end of the season.
Well, and Guido, look, what did we talk about last week? And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I railed on there's a lot of bad. There's a lot of bad in this schedule. We talked about it last week. Then this weekend, what did we showcased the bad. Like Texas Tech goes to Wyoming and loses in Laramie. Baylor loses to some team, Texas State or something. And then
Texas State,
I think BYU scored a fourth quarter touchdown to make it 14-0 against Sam Houston State. I mean, and we could go on. Houston barely beat Texas San Antonio. I think they're called the Road Runners or something. I don't know. It was like last weekend when we were doing our show, I was like, I think there's a lot of bad on this schedule. Then they actually played some games this week, and I was like, oh man, confirmation of the bad. So if Neil Brown, if there was ever any saving grace for Coach Brown, it's like there's a lot of bad out here, and he's bound to wins. I still think, Guido, I don't know I know we did our picks last week. I still think he's going to find a way to 5 wins now, especially seeing this stuff over the weekend.
And are you still, I don't know if I can stay true to the fact that I think the university's smart enough, if he doesn't take him to a bowl game and it's only 5 wins, you think he still stays coach for another year?
I'm afraid, Scoot. I still think that because I don't see the impetus. I think they'll be roll on.
He was close.
Yeah, right.
He was a play away, just like we got from the Pitt game and all these other things. He was just one play away, or if this ball gets caught or this play. Now listen, I will say this: we didn't have too many penalties. If you think about the game, we didn't have any turnovers. You throw some of those things into the mix, because we're going to have those things. That could change how our season goes too. You start to get a little bit sloppy. You start to turn the ball over. Some of those games that we thought would be wins could be a lot closer, or could be losses. So I don't know.
But we also didn't force any fumbles.
No. Well, we don't create any. There's no. I don't think teams fear us whatsoever. What would you fear?
Right. Well, and I think that's what I'm saying. It's great that we're proud that we didn't give any fumbles up, we didn't throw any interceptions, but we also didn't force any. We weren't there to get any interceptions. So, I mean, I don't know. I just think that whatever you want to call it. You want to call it tofu? You want to call it?
What do you want to call it, Scoot? Soy Raid? Soy Raid is the one that wins for me so far.
I mean, it's just not. And I think that we're going to come through this game this week against Duquesne, and I feel like we need to win by 4 touchdowns to make me feel good about the team. I think it needs to be.
So if we don't, what happens? What do you think then?
Nothing happens. I'm just saying that I think that if we don't win by at least,
let's say I think you got to win by
at least 30. You have to win by at least 30 against this team. If you don't win against this team at 30, I look at Pitt and I go, I know Pitt's not great this year, but they still beat Wofford, and I think that it's just takes so much energy out if we're we won by 2 touchdowns. We won by, I think people will be excited at 21 points or 18 points, and I'll be like, that's ridiculous. You're playing a team, that isn't even a Division I team.
I didn't even know they had football.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I didn't. I actually, when I saw it on the schedule, I had to go look to see if they were FCS or if they were actually a Division II team. I was not even, So I think that's where I'm at. I think West Virginia's got to put 30 plus up on this team to win, to feel that it's a respectful win. I think they have to. I think you got to win 50-0 teens. Like, I think you have to.
Well, we'll see. I think it's not designed to score a lot, though, Guido. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like it's capable of doing that. Maybe, I hope, but it doesn't feel that way.
I think I look at next week, and if we, Scooty, play the same bland offense that we had, and let's say the defense looks okay against a bunch of Division II kids, not Division II, FCS kids. See, I even still think they're Division II. I just don't like next week when we're talking about it and we're prepping for this Pitt game. Like, I think that we're going to be like, we're going to get killed by Pitt. And then I think if you don't win Pitt, I think you lose the fans, right? I don't know. I mean, they're diehards that'll always be there. They're the Twitter crazies that'll always be there. But like, I think it's downhill after
What's
that.
funny is, and I think it's sad. So let's think back to previous coaching staffs, right? Like when Rich Rod would play a team like this, it was like everything they could do to keep the game going 4 quarters because that other team would probably want to just quit, right? It would be like 85 to like 3, and he's still looking to score, right? Dana Holgerson, kind of the same way. The score differentials probably weren't as big, but like Rich Rod could care less. Like, we were going to pound those teams. This, like, I can't say that the thought of maybe this being a close game or potentially losing this game has like entered my mind. Like, I mean, if we lose this game, like, I'm already doom and gloom. Like, what am I going to be if we lose this game?
If we lose this game,
and the fact that
it'll be bad.
I'm even mentioning that.
Entertaining the thought. You would never entertain the thought.
Thing. Like,
well, we said it last week, but to me, I think that's the, Guido, you're asking, like, does anything happen? I think that's the only way you'd ever have something quickly happen is if something crazy like that happened. You'd have the guillotine falling. But I don't see that's not gonna happen. And I think I'm still at Thanksgiving, I think Neil Brown is still your coach. I think he's still your coach, and I think he's well on his way to being your coach next year.
Does he get a Christmas tree for his Cheat Lake residence?
I think he does. I think he does.
So we're on Christmas tree watch?
We're on Christmas tree watch. If you see the Browns out cutting down a tree this fall, you'll know he's staying. All right, well, listen, WVU plays Duquesne Saturday. That game is 6 p.m. at Milan Pushkar Stadium back in Morgantown. If you want to watch it, you got to pull out your wallet because it's on ESPN Plus. So you got to either subscribe to one of those 17 million different ways to get it, but it's not on your cable box, ladies and gentlemen. ESPN Plus. I haven't even seen. They haven't released yet who will be doing the play-by-play. I always find the ESPN Plus announcers super entertaining. So
always a delight.
That's always a delight.
It'll be Musburger.
Scoot, what do you think about
Brad Nessler?
What do you like? Soy Strike, or what about the Tofu Offensive? Or maybe
that could be.
Did you throw those in the Chat GPT? You went in the Chat GPT.
We run that tactical tofu is what we do.
Tactical tofu.
Tactical tofu.
Yeah.
I like that.
Tapioca attack. I don't know.
Yeah,
we got to come up with something. Soy Raid is the one that isn't my leader in the clubhouse right now.
Yeah, I'll have something by next week. I'll get you something.
I like it.
You'll see. After you watch this Duquesne game, you'll know.
Ugh.
So.
It'll give you time to think.
For sure. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Don't forget, check us out online. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. Just look for Got Your Ears On or at Got Your Ears. You can also check out our website, Johnson, gotyourearson.com. It's the hub of everything about us.
You can check out our website. We've got the latest links to the show there. You can click through to the merch store, and any notes that we put together, we'll post them up there. So check it all out.
We got to get that those tofu air raid, tofu attack shirts up on the merch.
We do need to do that.
Soy Raid shirts. All right. Well, listen, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with another show. WVU plays Duquesne this Saturday, 6 p.m. Milan Pushkar Stadium. So don't forget to check that out. And don't forget to check us out because you've been listening to Got Your Ears On.